Anyways, welcome back to another episode of Pursuit. We're continuing our.
This is why she didn't get my gold stars.
I didn't need your gold stars for validation. Right?
I didn't say you need my gold
This
stars.
is why you couldn't answer my honors level questions.
I answered every question.
The bare minimum.
Okay.
That's not passing.
What was passing?
Asha's answers.
And then you said I couldn't use her answers.
Exactly.
So how?
That would be cheating.
You can rephrase her answer without saying her exact
Which
answer.
I did.
No, not
everything, anything.
Not
Did
very
you cite
well.
your sources?
Did you? Why would you do that to yourself?
I did. God knows.
I'm just gonna have like a little replay of when Asha said her answer. Anyway, we're continuing our series on Psalms 23. We're kicking it over to verse 2. So last week we did verse 1, which was, "The Lord is my shepherd. I have all that I need." And now we're adding on 1 and 1 is 2. And we're adding on, so it'll
Just bring
be...
your map in.
I didn't say it. I thought it, but I buried it deep down. And
Verse 2 says, "He lets me rest in green meadows. He leads me beside peaceful streams." Just like the stream that will be right here in about a minute. I'm holding it in. No, don't zoom in. Unless they actually fall from my eyes. But I've sucked them back.
Yeah, so this episode we're going to be talking about peace. That wasn't a very peaceful beginning, but
You brought it.
and we're back. So guys, when have you... No, wait. Oh, no, you did. Okay. And we're back. Okay, so, guys, get it together. Okay, when did you feel the most rested? And what made that moment restful for you? Since we're in a very restful mindset right now.
Rest. I think the fact that I was on the verge of tears shows that. You can answer first.
I didn't know where you were going with that. I was like, okay. Let's see. So when have I felt the most rested? And it's weird because when I think about it, it has nothing to do with sleep, and you would think it has to do with sleep. Like, I feel like I could show you guys, but like I won't show it. So this was me like on vacation. Oh, I don't know if it was that. That was like the most rested I've been. Just me sitting down like playing with the dog, while like waiting for like barbecue ribs we had like to finish. Yeah, that's probably the most rested I've been in a while. I also had like a whole weekend of sleep behind it, but it was really more so sitting
That
there
moment.
doing nothing. Yeah, like that. I mean, it was that moment of just nothing and just like that dog was very needy. Like if you stopped petting him, he would start hitting your hand to like pet him back. Yeah, it was a whole thing. So yeah, that was me rested.
I think one of the most like recent ones was I was just in the backyard, just like eating a snack, and like we have like a hammock bed thing, so it's not like the full like cocoon hammocks, but it's like one of the bed ones. I was on there. I was just just zenning out in the backyard, and then my mom came outside and she started talking. You know when you're just quiet and you're just like there.
Your mom looking at this like I live by.
Exactly. And then and then she came out and she answered a FaceTime like full volume call. It was was it like a small group thing with your mom?
Don't bring me into this, all right?
I'm just.
Don't bring.
Was your snack an ice cream sandwich?
It was the that I sent you. Yeah. It was the time that I was having ice cream.
No, yeah. I feel like most of the times when you think of rest, as you said, it's not like sleeping, but that's what like automatically comes to mind. I feel like sometimes the most restful moments are like just wholesome, just chill moments by yourself or with, you know, doing something and doing things that you love. And, you know, last week we talked about God being a shepherd and him being able to provide all our needs. And, you know, to add on to that, I feel like and part of those needs is finding rest within. And I feel like especially now, like living in this generation or just like where things move quick, like New York City, like that's what we're known. City that never sleeps, and we're always moving. And it's like there's like that's like one of the most important needs that we have as humans is to find rest. And that doesn't necessarily mean sleep. It just means a moment to like come back and like take a moment to think and be calm. So my next question for you guys is, what grade would you give your ability to rest at this stage of your life, and why?
I think my ability to rest is off the charts.
Like
I could just turn it off and just, you know, just be. But there are a lot of times, so it's I can rest well, but there are also times where it's like I need to focus on the fact that you need to be resting at this moment. Because like there's always going to be something that comes to mind. It's like, oh, I should like you know, when there's nothing's happening, right? There's nothing stressful, nothing like that's going to cause anxiety or whatever. But like it's too quiet, so then you're like, I'm an anxious person. So my brain is like, you should be thinking, like there's something that you should be doing, you should be worrying about. It's like in those moments it's harder to be restful or to remind yourself to rest. But overall, I think that I am able to rest when I need to.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I don't do that. I know how to get rest, but I think for me it involves I want to say more so like I have to remove myself from a lot of things. I'm involved with so many things. That's why like the picture showing me, that's me in out of state at my friend's house, like not doing anything. And I think that was the last day of like a 6-day trip is when I got to that point also. So for me, it's a process because just the nature of the work that I do, I end up involved in so many things in which, you know, I'm always getting a message on my phone that there's something that has to be done and things like that. So yeah, it's for me, it's a process that I think I've understood and I've learned how to really kind of hone it in, even when I have to like not go on a vacation, but just stay home and get rest. But
yeah, and I agree. I feel like a lot of the times, my God, I'm blanking.
How you rest?
No. Yeah, actually, yeah. I feel like this part of life, I don't really I do, but I don't at the same time because I'm also an anxious person. And if I'm alone with my thoughts, as you said, I'm thinking of a million things, and it's like I'm exhausted from thinking of those things. Even if I'm like just laying back and chilling, I'm just
That's why I say like when I am able to rest, I'm really good at it. But it's finding those few and far in between moments where it's like you have to consciously be quieting everything that's happening like within you. Like one of my friends randomly called me like during the weekend, like 10 o'clock at night, just to catch up because that was the only time that we were both not doing anything. And he was like, oh, how are you doing? I was like, I don't know, I'm just anxious. He was like, why? And I was like, I couldn't tell you. But like that's just where my mind goes. So it's like the fact that I have to quiet, like to to make that conscious effort to like sort through these thoughts of like, why are you anxious? What is it that's causing this distress within you? And why is it that when everything is good, you feel like you need to be anxious about certain things in order to like rest?
Well, I also think part of it is the way we like define rest and things like that. Because I think the fact that I think like all three of us, I think I'm right in saying this, for most or maybe most people, when you think rest, you think sleep. You think it's something that you're going to, I guess, do. But I think rest is more of like the outcome.
Like you feel rested.
Yeah, right. Which is, I'm sure there are people who will go to sleep and feel rested the next day. And then, you know, like I'll go to sleep and I'm not going to feel rested tomorrow. I know that already. Like that's just what it is, right? But so I think part of it is also like the definition of what it means to be
Rested.
I
think when I generally think of rest, I think of something a bit more separated from like just sitting in the backyard. Because like when I think of rest, I think of like like how you felt at the end of your trip. I think of like going away, like completely separating myself and like just sitting like by a body of water or like in the sun and just getting rest that way. And I think that's why a lot of times we're unsatisfied, I guess, in the way that we go about finding rest. Because there are a lot of like smaller ways you can find rest within your daily life, like aside from just sleeping. Like it can be just reading a really good book and just getting your mind off of things. Or like, so for some people it's like they like to cook, so I'll relax in cooking and stuff like that.
And yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of the key to it. I think rest is less of an action and more like a state of mind or a state of being, right? To actually be rested, because like for me, I can get rested by going to the movies by myself, and it's something that like I actually had to kind of sort of work on, right? Because it's not just going to movies with my friends or things like that. It's like I'm gonna go to the movie knowing I'm gonna put my phone on do not disturb. I'm going to sit here. I'm gonna think, I'm gonna sit here. I'm gonna enjoy myself. I'm going to actually rest. It's something that took me a while to actually like learn, because there's times when I would be in movies and my phone will vibrate and it's like an email from work and I'll just kind of turn my brightness down and try and respond and things like that. And it took me a while to kind of,
Question.
Yes.
Is the fact that you feel rested coming from the fact that you're kind of isolating yourself from everywhere else, or is it the fact that you're doing something that you like to do? Or is it a combination?
I guess it's a combination. There's times I've felt rested without being isolated, right? I think it is 100% I want to say it's more so a state of mind than necessarily just being isolated.
Yeah, I try to think of other word.
I think being isolated is a very easy way to get to a point of rest, right? I think if you can basically, because if you're isolated and there's no distractions, there's nothing going on around you, I think it's a lot easier to find rest. Then in my case, you add in something that you like doing, like even what you were saying, like reading a book or something. So now your mind isn't wandering to all the anxiety, all the anxious things you have going on in your mind. Now all of a sudden, you can kind of achieve rest. What I think for me, what my whole thing was, it took me a while to understand that. And there's going to be times when I need to rest when I'm not going to be able to isolate, right? There's going to be times when I can't do something I like, but I still need to get rest, and I have to figure out how to do that. Yeah.
And going along with that, I feel like because it's become such a habit to like always be moving and like doing things, and like we don't necessarily know when to turn it off and take that moment for ourselves. And I feel like a good way of that is like being intentional. Like we always talk about being intentional with God. And I think that that's a blessing in many ways. Not only is it like being intentional with, you know, like your time and growing your relationship, but it's also teaching you to take a moment and focus on the thing that you need to do. And, you know, if God is like, well, he is peace, and if we're not connected to him and like, and in any way, we're separated. And that is what brings around, you know, unsettling feelings and unrestfulness. So what are some ways that you saw like rest outside of God?
Outside of God? Like for myself?
Yeah, like as a response to like exhaustion or like at some point in the past or today. Like,
yeah. I think a big part of it is separating yourself, like isolating, I guess. So a lot of times I will just separate myself from like the stimuli. Like I'll just I'll do it sometimes. Like on Auntie Angela's, it was either her death anniversary or her birthday. It was just a lot of stimuli for me. So I took a half day and I just went to a movie theater and I just saw a movie by myself in the dark. It was like matinee time, so it's empty. But like that was what I needed, where I could just sit in the dark and like recollect my thoughts and like, you know, pull myself back together. And I think that's the isolation, but also having that time to gather your thoughts and to sort through what it is that is causing you to need rest is a big part of finding that rest or being rested.
I mean, for me, I want to say probably throughout all of college and maybe a little after that, I had like really bad insomnia. Like, I want to say most nights I was up to like 3 a.m. and then I'm like waking up like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning. So the only time I think I would even get anything close to rest would have been really like a vacation where, and even then it depends, because if I go on like a family vacation and we have to do something in the morning, I'm still only going to get so much sleep and things like that. But I think, you know, I kind of chase certain things down, but I feel like in the end, none of those things really satisfied like the rest that I needed.
Yeah, I feel like they're all very like momentary fixes, but not like a genuine like deep rest.
It's weird because I was talking to someone about it, and the way he said I was describing like some of the habits I had, it was almost like a drug addict. Like I was just looking for something to give me rest. And it was weird because I didn't think about it. And then like when I kind of took a step back, I was like, yeah, I think I was like just chasing, whether it's an activity or a hobby or, you know, something that can give me rest, and like nothing would satisfy me.
Yeah, for me, I feel like my rest comes from like cooking or baking. Like that's my momentary fix. I like always need to like, if I'm like needing to disconnect, I'm just like in the kitchen, which is like, you know, my family loves it, but I'm just.
Are you one of those people that like when you're cooking in the kitchen, no one else can come in?
Yeah.
Okay, the same.
I'm like, yeah, I can't.
I hate it when people come in when I'm trying to do things.
Yeah.
Especially if it's, because like my mom, she doesn't do recipes, right? She'll just be like, oh yeah, just put this much. And I was like, no.
Oh my God, my mom does that and it annoys me so. Like I was making a recipe and she was like, it doesn't look like that's enough. And then she just poured. And I was like, please.
Do you know what's so funny? One time, this is a tangent, but one time my mom was, she was making something and she doesn't normally follow the recipe. One time she followed the recipe, like she actually like, you know, all the instructions to a T. And she's like, wow, it came out so good. And I was like, I wonder why.
I just remember all those episodes when I was saying stuff about my parents. They're like, oh, wait till they see it. Wait till your mom sees this.
I tell it to her all the time.
Yeah, my mom
This
does.
is a regular conversation we have. I said, why she needs to follow the instructions.
I know it sucks. Is she's gonna come talk to me about this after she sees the episode. This is true. I know she's gonna come talk to me about it.
Right. You know, she's a grown woman. She can do whatever she wants.
Didn't say she wasn't.
Anyways, rest. Anytime I'm in the kitchen with her, I need rest.
Yeah, anytime I'm in the kitchen, someone comes in the kitchen, I have to stop. Like, I'll just stop everything I'm doing. I'm like, okay, I'll wait until you leave.
I started doing that only because I think I watch too many like cooking shows, so like I'm really trying to get like the proper ways to like cut stuff like down. So like you're supposed to do, like the little claw thing and things. So obviously like, I feel kind of slow, and like I have to something mindful of just not grabbing something. And people just be walking like bumping into mom like cutting stuff, and I'm like, nah, we're not doing this. I'll just be there, and it's like, okay, it's gonna wait so everyone's done moving.
That's why I like springtime, because then whenever I cook, my mom's in the garden. Both of them are in the garden.
Mm.
So I just have like full reign. And then I listen to my murder mystery as well. And that's finding rest.
It's kind of interesting that you listen to murder mysteries while cutting things.
Well, while I'm doing things. Bailey Sarian, very good, very good. Murder mystery makeup Mondays.
She's not a sponsor, or
I'm not, but she's just very good.
So, since we talked about momentary fixes of, you know, finding rest, what do you think is keeping us from finding like full peace or like, full rest?
I think it's self-reliance that is holding us back. Because once you fully like rely and fully depend on the Lord being your shepherd, and excuse me, and then taking you by those still waters and the green pastures, unless you really fully rely on him and where he's taking you, you can't find rest, because you're never going to find rest in yourself, because you can't provide something that you don't have, right?
I mean, when I think about it, I agree with what you're saying. I just think in my head it goes a level deeper, I guess, because I think a lot of times the rest we're looking for is rest for our soul. And I think there's no way that anything we do here on earth will really give us rest for our soul. Unless God is involved in it directly, right? So unless you're like coming to church or something, then maybe that can give you rest and things like that. But I think, just cooking and listening to podcasts, right, in and of itself may give that temporary rest. It may give you like to some degree physical, mental, maybe emotional, but I think a lot of times because we're lacking that sort of spiritual rest, I think that's where we're lacking. And I think that's kind of the issue. And so the times when like I couldn't sleep and all those things, that's one of the things I learned. Like I'm trying to treat all of these like symptoms of the issue, but I'm not treating the actual issue. And it wasn't until like I really prayed to God specifically about, hey, there is something wrong here with me where I am just not getting rest, and really had to seek him and things like that. And even then it took some time of like spending time with God for me to actually get rest that I needed.
Yeah, I feel like actually now that I think about it, like most of the times where I felt like I was able to like fully disconnect was like, you ever been like so locked into like worship songs? Like I just like take moments where I'm just like locked in, and it would be like a lot of time has passed and I'm just like, I didn't realize it because I'm just like
zoned in.
Yeah. And sometimes I feel like we're looking for rest, and and God, like he doesn't make it so obvious of the rest that you actually need. But you're thinking like, I don't know if this is going to be confusing or not, like the way that I'm saying it. But
It's never stopped me.
but like, yeah, the rest that you think you want is not the rest that God says that you need.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times I feel like we're anxious and unrestful because we're not necessarily, like, as you said, we're not trusting where God is like leading us. And we kind of want to, I know we talked about it last time, but we kind of want to find our own route around things. And yeah, and it can cause exhaustion. I forgot what verse it is that it says like doing things on your own will cause exhaustion. I don't know. I forgot.
I mean, but to what you're saying, I would say it's not even that I think sometimes we don't trust where God is leading. I think it's sometimes we don't trust that God is currently active, right? And I think when that happens, we see that the anxiety kicks in, the worry kicks in, the nervousness, the crying on demand kicks in. But I think that when we are trusting in the fact that God is currently working on my behalf, right, we can rest, which I think is what David is saying, right? Make sure I have this right. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, right? If the Lord is my shepherd, again, in that analogy, the shepherd is the one taking care of everything. The sheep is just moving with the shepherd. And I think when we reach a point in our life where our relationship with God turns from me trying to be God trying to prove myself to God, right? So I think a lot of times we try to be our own shepherds, right? We try to find the still waters and the green. I mean, that's what we were describing for like the last 10 minutes, right?
Yeah.
We tried to find still waters. We tried to find green pastures to lie down in. We tried to find all these things because we're trying to do what God is doing. And it's a weird thing because it's almost as though we have to, it's like we're trying to prove ourselves to God. We're trying to prove, hey, God, look at me, look what I can do. When God is saying, no, just kind of trust me and just kind of go with the flow of the way I'm kind of moving you right now. And it's weird because it's such a difficult thing to do, even though when David says it here, it seems so easy.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's important in last episode, you look at the context of David's life, there's no way this was an easy statement for him to make, right? With loss of children, and it's not even one child he lost multiple children in his life, right? I think because he had 2 wives or 3 wives. He had more than one wife, and I'm not even sure if it's at the same time, but I know he had more than one wife, and basically he had kids with different
Multiple
women,
kids with each.
right? And like one attacked the other. Like it becomes this whole horrible family drama thing that plays out. But yet he's gonna say, "The Lord is my shepherd; I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside still waters." That only happens when you really just let go of control and you're just fully trusting, okay, God, you're the shepherd, I'm the sheep, you lead me, and I'll trust where you go. It's time to get up and move from here to here, I'm gonna move. It's time to lie down, I'm gonna lie down. And I think when that happens, we start to experience, I guess, what the Bible describes as the peace of God. I know we've talked about that when we've done other studies of other books, but I think we only feel that peace, experience that peace, when we're fully trusting in God to be working just in our life.
I think one of the problems that we have with living in a modern society is that we tend to not want to rely on other people or on other things. So a lot of times that is something that we have, like, I know I have a lot of difficulty with relying solely on God, because one, you can't always see exactly what he's doing when he's doing it, right? Like, a lot of times you look back and be like, wow, that was really, like, I couldn't have done that on my own. Like, that was clearly God's work in my life. But in the moment, it's like, God, I don't see what you're doing. I'm just trying to figure this out, like, on my own, because I can't see your hand in my life right now. And a lot of times it is having to go back, like, on your knees, like in your own private time, and like talking to God and actually trying to actively hear what it is that he's saying and see what it is that he's doing in your life.
Yeah, it's so funny because they're one of like the, like, I guess mission trip things I would have done with my dad. And this was recent. We're in the car driving from point A to point B, and I'm like half asleep because it's a long car ride. That was gonna put me to sleep, and it was just like a nice, like, scenic spot, and I just took a short video of it. I was like, this is really cool. And I didn't say anything to anyone. I think I posted it on Instagram, but I didn't really say anything to anyone about, like, what was going through my head or anything. And then the next day, where, he's doing, like, a conference for a bunch of pastors, and they're praying for the pastors, and one of the pastors decides to pray for me, and he's telling me, he's like, yeah, God is saying this, this, and this. And it was God saying everything I was thinking the day before. And I was like, well, this is really freaky. That this guy is going to tell me, like, verbatim everything I was thinking. And I was like, that's really scary. But at the same time, I understood what God was telling me was, yeah, let me take you to these places of rest, right? Because at that point, I was fighting to find rest. And God's like, no, let me lead you to these green pastures, these still waters, right? And in that case, it was like literal water I was passing by, and I was just like, okay, God, like, I get it, right? But I think it takes sometimes those moments, again, of not just these things happening, but you seeking God, right? And I think that's one of the things that we see in the life of David. Yeah. He never really stopped seeking God. And we see God kind of continually just move in his life.
Yeah, and I think that's why it's so important to be intentional with your time with God, is like, he will speak to you in so many ways. And I think it's so easy, again, to be like caught up in like trying to find your own fixes of rest that are very momentary. But, at the end of the day, as gracious as God is, he's not going to force you to do anything. Like, I think we do need to like actually sit there and like speak to him and have him guide us to the right place, because like we all need rest. So I feel like that's a really good place to end. Unless you guys have anything to add.
No, I'm good.
All right. See you guys later.